What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. We got greatness in the building, pulling all the way up from Staten Island. We have Walter Doyle, Eddie Fairmosca, Richie Creighton of the Splendids, featuring singer-songwriter Eamon. We're going to talk about their debut 45 on Coal Mine Records, featuring Cry Baby Cry and Blame My Heart. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off real soon. Shout out to everybody on the line. We see it. Tonight's going to be real, real special. Stoked. There we go. There we go. Request is sent. They should be joining shortly. Shout out to everybody on the line. Splendids are in the building. There we go. Fellas, what's going on?
All right. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Let's go, man. A privilege.
Hey, I like your hat, man. I think I need one of them.
I'm Eamon's dad, Walter.
I figured. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you for being here tonight.
I'm Richie.
Hey, Richie.
Move over, Ed.
I can move over.
All right, Eamon's about to join.
Yeah,
thanks for the support.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This was a gift seeing this 45 right here. A gift.
There we go. I think you have 3 different colors.
That's right. There's I think they call this natural. They call this natural right here. There's a beautiful red color variant and then classic black, as they say. Let me send this request one more time to Eamon. There we go. How's the weather on the island?
How's the weather out there?
It's kind of wet. I'm in Seattle, so you know, we're used to the rain. We take umbrellas everywhere we go.
Eamon.
Eamon, it's a pleasure.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How you doing? How's it going?
All is well in the studio. Just after a long session, my still got this cold. My voice is shot. But anyway, thanks for having us, Waxvillain. I'm amazing, man. Thank you.
It's an honor. It really is.
You're really doing something beautiful, man. All of the, there's so much good soul music out right now. From the past, obviously, but right now, and the way that you're like just showing appreciation for this stuff is amazing, man. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Your words mean a lot. Walter, I'm going to need you to kind of get a little closer to the middle. We're missing. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to lean in.
Sure. Yeah, you two move in.
Here we go.
I need y'all to make it like you're on the corner back in 65, man. I need y'all to lean in by the lamppost.
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold out.
So I see we have 26 on the line. If y'all are ready, I'll go ahead and kick things off.
Yeah, whatever. It's up to you, brother.
All right. I want to welcome everybody to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews. However, we take the time to do the research. We want to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts. More importantly, we want to support and strengthen what's already out there. We got a grip of questions. We got show and tell. Y'all know I usually prepare introductions and things like that, but I just want to go from off the top of the dome tonight. These are the moments that I live for right here, and I'll tell you why. I remember when I found Bobby Wade's Four Walls and One Window. The moment that I heard that, I said I needed to reach out to Bobby. I needed to talk to Bobby and ask him why he wrote this song. From there, as I explored garage and soul in upstate New York, where I'm from, I ended up finding a band called the Roosters. And lo and behold, I end up having a conversation with Trey Lotz, who was just sharing gems and wisdoms of knowledge from the past, things that we would never be able to find out or read in a book or see online. So when I saw this 45 show up in November of 2023, I said, the Splendids? I put it on the table. I said, this can't be. Doo-wop group harmony in 2024 on Coal Mine Records? I had dreamed about being able to talk to these folks before I was able to find accounts on Instagram and everything like that. So I am so honored to have the Splendids and Eamon here tonight to document a conversation, to learn about their story from the past, but more importantly, I know they came out with records in the past, but I see this tonight as a debut release on Coal Mine Records, and I couldn't be more happy than to talk to these fellas a week after the official release of the 45. So the Splendids, Eamon, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Man, what an introduction. Thank you, brother.
So I want to start with the basics real quick. Folks, go ahead and tell us your name, where you're from, and Walter, please let us know who's not with us tonight.
I'm Walter Doyle's dad.
I'm Richie Creighton. Me and Walter and friends all our life. I'm Eddie Fermasi, the only Italian. Half Italian.
Half Italian here, yeah.
And we started singing probably in 1960, 61 at the CYO.
You're getting into the questions. We got to pause real quick. Eamon, go ahead and give us your introduction,
Yeah,
quick, brother.
I'm Eamon, and born and raised in Staten Island, now residing in Tennessee. But guys, if you could mention who are the two members that are no longer with us of the Splendids?
Johnny Barassi, our lead singer, passed a few years ago. And Tommy Stanaway, our old bass, he passed a few years ago also. We've had Carlos Rampolla, who sings with Molto. He sang with the Crest. He does baritone on these records for, that we just released. Carlos is not here tonight.
Thank you so much. So for my first question that I want to ask, this is something that I really kind of gleaned from talking to rare soul collectors in California. I truly believe that our why is really the driver behind our passion. No matter how many challenges we face or when we get stuck, our why always pushes us through. So I would love to know, what was your why for coming together and making music, more specifically group harmony or doo-wop as many know?
Well, I think I can answer that maybe quickly in two parts. I remember the three of us really were in Port Richmond. We started to go to the CYO. And when we heard some of the groups before us, I remember the second floor was the pool room part. So I was on the second floor. I heard this lead singer, Charlie Barnacle. I said to myself, I didn't even know what I said to myself, that's for me. Because this guy was outstanding. So then we all and stuff. So that was one part. We started to sing at shows and stuff in our youth. But now, proceed many years later, I wanted to build a memory. So I got together, everybody, and started this project to build a memory. That's what we intended to do. We never, at these ages, ever expected to go further than that. But because of the love of Eamon, and he's a total professional to bring us along and help us with the three of us. We end up on Coal Mine Records. To me, was the surprise of my life, and that we were able to do that. And I've been in other professional groups, but my heart was always Walter, and that was really a driving force.
I love that. And so, Eamon, I want to go to you, man. Talk to me about your why. What drives you to create?
Man, so here's the situation. When I was a kid, I always grew up around oldies. My father was always playing that in the house.
Yeah.
And something that was a norm to me is these guys right here would occasionally get together. Another guy by the name of Tony Montella would come along. Different guys later on, Billy Griffin and Vince Lafata. So these guys would come in and they might meet up in our living room of our house. Or my father might take me to one of their living rooms. And they just start singing. And I was just amazed by that. You know, this was something where it was otherworldly to me to have it, you know, right in front of you. especially because I grew up listening to so many of those songs, and I have these guys singing beautiful harmony in the living room, and I'm just watching them. I never thought that this was going to be something that I was going to do one day. I was just sitting and watching. And then one day, my father, not one day, over the years, I started listening to what they known as like high tenor leads of like basically people who were kids, like Frankie Lyman of Frankie
Yeah.
Lyman and the Teenagers.
Yeah.
His brother, Louis Lyman of Louis Lyman and the Teen Chords, Little Anthony and the Imperials. You know, it's funny for people that are watching or people that might be watching this later. When I talk about stuff like this, when I talk to my wife about stuff like this, it reminds me of, you know, the part in the That Thing You Do movie? You ever seen That Thing You Do? The
I really don't
Wonders?
have too much time to watch movies, brother.
Yes. So anyway, there's this part where the drummer, this is a pop group who has a major hit, and the drummer is on some radio show, and they're just talking about like pop radio stuff. And he goes into his inspiration. He starts talking about all these obscure drummers, jazz drummers, that
Yeah.
this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Anyway, that's what I feel like sometimes. But no, those were my inspirations.
Mm.
And so I saw that these young kids were doing it, and little by little, I just started mimicking these guys, these kids who were recording these songs at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, especially Frankie Lyman, who's the GOAT to me. And yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Wax, may I interject?
Absolutely, Walter. This is about you, brother.
No, it's about us. What
Go ahead. Go ahead.
the wife and me, I went to a school play that Eamon had that I really didn't want, and my wife said, you have to go. It was in the summer. And Eamon was singing the Joe Cocker song, Where Eagles Fly, with this little chick. He opened his mouth, and I walked up to the teacher and I said, thank you. And she said, for what? And I said, because I never thought he could sing like that. And the next day I went out and bought a Frankie Lyman out, and I started playing it, and the rest is history. 2 years singing at the Garden, with Westbury Music Festival, singing at Nassau Coliseum. He grabbed on, and the rest is. I love the get together with other people and get in the groove and be in the moment and get that sound that touches my heart.
Mm.
It
Mm.
always.
Nice.
I'm so glad you interjected because I knew tonight we were going to have some father-son moments. We were going to get different lenses into different chapters of life. That's super important. I love that. Now, I want to take things back to 61 because as the story goes, 5 young men, Port Richmond, Staten Island, walk into a community center. Their parents wanted to keep them off the streets. Walter, take it from there. Tell us how it all started.
Well, I was singing with a few other guys, Eddie Hurd, Richie Hurd, and I guess our friendship, we were hanging out together, and we just got the idea, let's start singing. And little by little, we added to what we were doing. It started off with just singing for an echo in Low Bells on Richmond Avenue, and it had a big hall, and we just started singing, and from there it just took off. Uh, it ended with the Vietnam War, with people going, with all kinds of other issues that happened, and we landed up going our separate ways. But we had done a lot of work before that, a lot of singing, and we've always remained buddies. And Eddie brought up, get back together, get and do something. But it all started in '61, and we had a really solid group. Trust me, we did. We had a smoking group, and that Johnny really could sing. Eddie has a great second. Richie's a great second baritone. He does bass now, but it was just great. We had a great sound. and most importantly, we were friends.
That's
And
awesome. I got to go back to something real quick, and this is kind of my curiosity as well. My mother's boyfriend had talked about doo-wop way back in the day, and how going into the subways to practice sing, it enhanced maybe the sound. And I think what you were talking about was you would go somewhere to kind of practice. Can you elaborate on what I'm saying? Is there any truth to that about singing down in the subways or kind of like a big space?
go down to the Staten Island Ferry because it had it was really boss, man, a great echo. And that was the club. It was almost like with Phil Spector trying to create the wall sound. Well, we did all the sound with our voices, and we could wail. And I'm so glad we got back together again because we're humming. Now we got it going.
Okay. So if we fast forward a bit, in years to come after 61, that initial meeting, you end up rehearsing and then you're playing for packed houses. I have a note that in 66, a gentleman named Bobby Miller signed you and you sang a Camelot's cover, Don't Leave Me Baby. What do you remember about this particular chapter with the Splendids? What led to those gigs and connecting with Bobby? And can you talk a little bit about competition?
What I remember about that is had an audition with Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller was from the Bronx, but he was also connected with another guy named Stan Krause, and they had a connection in couple of different labels. So, and there was another vocal group that night with us called the Five Sharks. They were very good, and both of us auditioned for Bobby Miller, and Bobby Miller decided to take us. And then Don't Leave Me Baby, we recorded Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey. And then it went on to that particular album. I Dig Acapella was the album.
The first acapella.
And it was, yes, what was that?
First acapella.
Yeah, first acapella. And it was, I think it was, I don't know if it was I Dig Acapella, whatever it is, but it was like,
I Dig Acapella.
It was on Catch Records. And so that was our first really release in our life, but we did that in a university in New Jersey.
And some other.
But Ed, you said that was the first acapella. Oh, Rich, you said that was the first acapella.
First acapella album.
But we did other records when we first started. Like, well, maybe I should go back a little bit in time. At 15, we had wrote a song called "Baby." It was just "Baby," right?
Baby, I love you.
Yeah, "Baby, I Love You." Wrote that song. We recorded a demonstration record with Black Magic in Brooklyn. We did that. We did other demonstration records. We did that in Fifth Street. We finally got labels, which were acapella.
I'm tracking on a few songs. There's Could This Be Magic, Ooh Baby Baby, and Don't Leave Me Baby, Want You Back.
Well, Don't Leave Me Baby was the one that we recorded. The other two we sang, at shows and stuff, but the one we recorded was Don't Leave Me Baby.
And groups that sang with us, Wax, other competitors on Staten Island, the Fascinations, who have a great many Fascinations, Bojack, Richie Hyde, they were dynamite. They had a So in Love. Check it out. I'm in Love in One Chance. The Lullabies with Tommy Tucker. There were a lot of really the Elegance of Staten Island. They were more, types.
Yeah, the Elegance actually have the first #1 song out of Staten Island. It's a song called "Little Star." Here you are, little star, twinkle twinkle. It's basically a play off of Twinkle, the nursery rhyme, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But yeah,
Okay.
Staten Island's first #1, Vito Pacone and the Elegance. Yep,
And
legends.
Force MD.
Force MD's are much later. Yeah. Staten Island, of course.
And we got a lot of fans too. Method Man loves us. He already bought the record. I said, "Do you have a 45 player?" He goes, "No, but I'm hanging on the wall."
I love it.
Yeah, Method Man is a fan of the Splendids. It's awesome.
That's fantastic. What was the scene like around that time? Can you kind of describe what you remember in terms of like the community, the fans, and like I said, I'm always curious about competition. Was it fierce? Was everybody working together? In contrast to what it's like today.
You know, one thing I'd like to establish first, and then go and answer your question, is we had a guy in our neighborhood. What I really loved about it, in our neighborhood, we sang, it was every different ethnicity. In other words, like whoever could sing the best, it doesn't matter what they were. And that's how the group sort of came together. And one of the guys that he's passed away, his name was Alvin Mitchell. He was really the forerunner that he's so many different groups. And he basically trained us. He was a tough taskmaster. He would look in your face, you go, hey, suck it off. And then you finally got it right. You finally got it right. But he was a tough taskmaster. So as the group developed, we went to different shows. And I remember in Jersey City, we had a show at about 10 or 15 other groups or at other dance stuff with groups that you really had to practice having stuff straight because there were some groups that were better than you, maybe some lesser. But there was competition there. People wanted to sing the music. It was never really a struggle with it. Everybody enjoyed it. It wasn't like, let me be one up. It was just, and you enjoyed other people's sound.
Okay. Okay. I can get with that. I like that. All right. Now, I got to ask y'all. Oh, go ahead.
It also got us girls.
I mean, that's a bonus. That's a bonus. You know what's funny about that? I remember when I was watching, there's a documentary on doo-wop, and I believe it's one of the more popular ones. But in the beginning, that is something that they always talked about, is that it wasn't about the money or anything like that. It was that the fellas were getting ladies from it. So I believe that. You just confirmed it, verified it, and that makes a lot of sense. That'd be good for me too, I guess.
And we would stay up. We practiced in park near PS20, and it would be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, singing and drinking and smoking a doobie back in the day. And I can tell you this: cops never stopped us because the people enjoyed us.
Wow. I was wondering. I was like, where were the police? Clearly, they liked it, so they just let y'all keep going.
The cops used to stop and listen to us.
That's funny.
They liked it.
So, Eamon, I saw that. I found some other music, and I remember you telling me, you showed me a picture, and I believe you're 9 years old, you're holding a microphone, and I believe it's your dad behind you. Is that Eamon and the Elations? Can you talk about that?
No, so that was just at the beginning. That was at the beginning where these guys were getting together sporadically.
Okay.
And in that picture is my father, Richie, Eddie, and a guy by the name I mentioned before, Tony Montella. And they were just getting together singing, and my pops brought me along. Earlier, might have been a few weeks earlier, a couple months earlier, my father told the guys, man, Eamon's been singing. He's been singing along to Frankie Lamy. You gotta check this out.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that's no longer with us, Tony, was like, he really encouraged it. And we sang in our living room. The guys were impressed. I think a couple weeks later, my father knew a guy by the name of Eddie Rosanico who sang with a legendary Brooklyn group called The Passions. Eddie Rosanico knew a guy by the name of Jimmy Merchant, who is the second tenor of Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers.
Okay.
And so I'm only like, I don't know, a few weeks into singing with the guys, nothing serious. And he calls up Jimmy and says, hey, Jimmy, you got to hear this. And we sang Why the Fools Fall in Love. And Jimmy's words were, man, you brought me back to Frankie, man. So that was like that was a huge honor to me. But shortly after that, we would start that picture that you're speaking of. It's on my page. Is in a guy by the name of Joe Buckeye's house, and Joe, he never charged us money or anything like that. He's an amazing guy. I talk to him once in a while. He just wanted us to come over because he had all this audio equipment. Still to this day, buys more and more audio equipment. He was just happy to have his old friends over and
Yeah.
have us test out his audio equipment. So he'd be filming all of these practices, all of our get-togethers, recording them. And one night they brought me over, and that's what you saw. It was like one of my first times on an actual microphone. Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
I
So
was like
there's footage and everything?
I keep telling Joe. I just texted him recently. I'm like, man, you got to look for some of this footage that's just like in the vaults. You know what I mean? So he had to transfer everything over to digital. But I still think he's got a little bit more to do. But yeah, a lot of the stuff is filmed.
Okay.
We had
Okay.
a yeah. He was that short. We put him on a chair so he could sing.
Yeah, before the mic. Yeah, before the mic. Yep.
I love that. I love that. Guys, I want to take it back a little bit, and you kind of touched on this, but something that I think is really important is to gain a lens into what life was like back in the 60s and the 70s and so on like that. And I think around that time, things like the Vietnam War were going on. The Beatles were emerging on the scene. Can you talk about how that impacted your evolution as a group and even doo-wop as a whole?
Well, to be quite honest with you, around 1963, 64, I think the last semi-doo-wop record I recorded was a song called by Randy and the Rain. And as soon as the Beatles came, it was like a guillotine. It was over.
Like that?
That, that quick. It was like that scene was
Gone.
gone.
Yeah.
Gone. The Beatles were like I mean, they were tremendously talented, songwriters, fantastic. But when they came on the scene, doo-wop was now basically obscure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there's a quote in the Waterfalls. There's a quote in the Waterfalls Fall
We
in Love
never,
movie where
you know,
I'm sorry.
we didn't have a chance to go further because people didn't want that music. Around 64, 65, they wanted, but who came out sort of sparkling in that time? The only singers that really started to do well then were the female groups.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true.
Reparata and the Delrons,
Okay. Yeah.
with the Four Seasons, they had a different sound. And it was a total different movement, which I understand. Music changes, so you got to live with what it is. But doo-wop was over.
Yeah, I mean, I think the evolution was how it went from, you know, um, around like really see the changes around the early 60s, 60, 61. And I think the evolution starts with, which set it up where it could continue in some form, is like the Ronettes,
Mm-hmm.
groups like that. Like he said, like all the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons kept up harmonies, like the 3-4 part harmonies throughout the verses and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff that Phil Spector was doing is a lot of doo-wop feel, but doo-wop traditionally has constant vocals, background vocals throughout the whole entire song.
Yeah.
And you saw a little change in that. They would still do a feel, but it wasn't that. And then I think you see it come back again, but in a much more soulful way, is with the Philly sound, with the
Mm.
Delphonics and the Shy Lights and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And
So, it's all connected, but it definitely took a break. The 50s sound pretty much died around that time when the Beatles came in, yeah.
Okay.
there were some groups that still kept it going. The Manhattans, they had a really cool sound. Can I? That was one of their last doo-wop type style records before they came out. Shine
Sure.
like that.
Yeah, the
But
Dells. Yeah.
we were used to sing hope-filled places late at night. It was a really smooth groove. It was beautiful. It's something if you were there, you would know. If you weren't, you could only dream it. But it was surreal.
Yeah, beautiful time.
Okay. Now, Eamon, in 2003, I wasn't collecting 45s. I wasn't doing anything like that. But I think just about everyone in the world heard your smash hit single, F It, I Don't Want You Back. Can you
Yeah.
talk to us about that chapter of life, how you got started, what that song means, what inspired it? And,
Um.
and we need to clarify.
Oh,
We got to talk about Frankie.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So basically, um, I was singing doo wop with my pops and the guys. And when I was around 15, we were coming to the end of it, and I started writing my own music, and for the first time ever. And this guy I knew by the name of John Abbott, he was a great arranger back in the day, arranged for Dion, Abraham Martin and John, that song, just multiple songs. I think Janie Americans, bunch of stuff. And so he wound up introducing me um, to a couple guys from a famous label from like a popular label in hip hop from the late 80s called First Priority Music, which was the home for Audio 2, MC Light, Paz
Top
K.
billing, baby.
Yeah, Top Billing, exactly. So I got hooked up with them, and one of like I think it was like the third song I ever wrote was this song called F It, I Don't Want You Back. And then I showed it to them, and and they were blown away. And at the time, Milk was like, "Nah, this is a hit." I was like, "Hit? This is? Are you crazy?" He was like, "Trust me," and I trusted him. You know what I mean?
And
Even though as a teenager is so proud and ego filled, I still trusted him at the time because I knew he had such knowledge of this. So we record that, and we go on to record other songs, and we just pitch stuff. We pitch stuff over and over to different labels, and every single label said the same exact thing. The music is great. There's potential there, but this will never, ever, ever get played on the radio, right?
What?
So, yeah, 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 ever get. I mean, because before that, you have to. My my buddy jokes about it, but it's true. Before that, there was no such thing as a pop record, even an R&B record that was mainstream. Hip hop, sure, but that was mainstream that used curse words like that in the song. It just wasn't a thing. It just
Right.
wasn't. Now it's like
be
all over the place. But like then, we start shopping a record, and like I said, all these things happen. Then finally, um, we go to Nat Robinson, who is the head of First Party Music, knows this guy by the name of Troy Terrain, who is Star from Star and Buck Wild.
Okay.
And at the time, he had the biggest radio show.
Yeah,
Biggest
huge.
strength. I mean, at the time he was beating Stern, which is insane in the ratings, right?
Wow.
So he goes up to Star, plays the record. I mean, it's a story. I did a Billboard article recently about it, but there's a story where he hears the record. It's an edited version. He's like, I'm not doing this. I can't. But on the way out, he somehow hit the next song by accident, and he heard the unedited version, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, this is insane!" And he did the beeps himself the next morning on the radio show, and he got requested so much, 8 times it got requested, and every single label that turned us down finally called us back and offered us deals. And I don't know, a few months later the single came out, and then February was just the 20th anniversary of the album a couple weeks ago, February 17th, and man, it just did amazing. It was number one in like tons and tons of countries. It was number one here in the single sales chart for like 12 weeks on the hip hop and R&B chart, and then like 9 weeks on the pop charts. And yeah, it didn't go number on the Hot 100, but I think that it was, understandably, as a father now, it wasn't getting much play in some parts of the Bible Belt, so that really couldn't take it to the number one spot. But yeah, and that's how it happened, man, and it just absolutely exploded. As far as you said, the Frankie thing, that's the rebuttal thing. I also cleared that up too. I don't know what to say about that. It's more than, it's just a person that, it's funny too because she's from Staten Island and I never
Yeah.
met her, but it's a person that claimed that she knew me and that she was my ex, and so she put out this song, and
you're great.
no matter how many interviews I did, I was like, no, I don't know her. I've never met her before, and but people like the drama about it all. But yeah, anyway, so that did well for me too because I own all of that song too. So everywhere I went number one, not everywhere, a lot of countries, like for instance, I went number one in the UK for 4 weeks in a row. It followed up with that 3 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? So it was a pain in the ass, hearing about like, yeah, but you sure that you don't know her? Besides that part, it did well for me money wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the story of that first album, man. It just absolutely exploded all over the world.
Wax, when he first wrote that song, he
Oh
came
yeah.
to my room at 3 o'clock in the morning with his keyboard, and he said, "I got to play a record for you." And I said, "Come on, man, I got to go to work." And my wife said, "Listen, he wants to play a record." And I said, "Okay, go ahead, hear it." He played it, and I said, "That's a hit." And my wife said, "Oh my goodness, listen to that language." She said, "This is all on you." That language. She said, "Because that's where he got this shit from you." And sure enough, it became the number one song played in the world.
Yeah, number one song in the world, folk. Yeah, pretty wild.
That's wild. So you heard it first at like 2, 3 in the morning, and you knew it when you heard it. Wow.
As
Yeah,
soon
yeah,
as he played it, I said, "That is a hit
yeah. It was different for sure.
from his heart," and it was
Oh,
believable.
and what is it inspired by? I didn't answer that question. Amazingly, it's not inspired by a true story. I had seen other people around me like that had happened to people, and I wasn't the greatest guy at the time, a teenager. So I've seen other people hurt by my actions, and I just wrote it. I mean, people are like, yeah, but you have so much passion in it. But like everything I sing, I try to put passion in it, like it's the last song I'm ever gonna sing. That's what I try to aim for. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Like I told my buddy one time that was interviewing me, I was like, every song I sing like, because I'm a Christian. Although this isn't theologically true, I sing like my salvation is on the line. That's what I try to go for. That's what I try to
Sure.
pour my heart into when I sing these songs. No matter what song it is.
That's an incredible insight because, I think by and large, we would think that you were singing about a personal experience of broken heart, but you're actually sitting in the seat of the villain almost and writing it,
Yeah,
which is very interesting. But
yeah,
that's cool. That is
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Um, Fellas, this is a question for everybody here, and I want to take our time with this. Oftentimes, when people like me, they hear something for the first time and they see a record, we're so moved by it, and we have all these questions like, how did we get here? Like, what happened in the studio? We typically see the tip of the iceberg. So I would love it if you could give us a lens into what your creative process was like. How would you start creating a new song or changing up arrangements? Is there anything that stands out to you along the way as you've made music? Maybe it was being in the studio with a mentor or somebody that inspired you or got you unstuck from something and said, try it like this. Give us a lens into your creative process. Let us know about maybe some memorable moments that you recall from times in the studio or just simply creating.
But I, we have no music, not a lick of it. Me, Richie Walker, not a lick.
Yes, I
Oh, he plays
saxophone.
sax. But anyway, we don't have any musical training. Our music was to listen to a record and pick out your part. If you had a good record, you hear pretty clearly. Not all of you, but we did the best we could, and we learned the harmonies. We were so good at picking out those parts. Plus, we had other people in the community, like my friend, this guy I grew up with. He lived across the street. His brother was a piano player. Really had a tremendous ear for music. So he was even better at it out. So our training came from living and in community with others and doing it until you had it right. And then you had your own individual training, making sure you were straight on notes and stuff like this. That's all we did. So we basically listened to the songs and those songs. Like even today, we can listen to a song, like the song we picked up, "Play My Heart," that was recorded by the Meridians in 1965. And I came across that song. I listened to it. We picked out the parts, harmonies, and we have it. And if you look at us alongside the original recording, you can see it's the same. Yeah,
There it is.
and if you listen to the original thing, actually, to tell you the truth, I'm not both, not like that. when you listen to both, I gotta be honest, I think that our recording is a little bit better than the original, and that lead singer was very good. But I think with Eamon and that, we really did okay.
For me, Wax, I don't feel it. We're not singing it. And like Cry, Baby Cry, when I heard that, it's a very simple slide song. And I knew uh, Dino. And I called him up, old man, and I said, Dino, we want to do you. And he said, oh, you still sing with Eamon and Elisha? I said, Elisha's died years ago. I said, but we want to do it. Eamon changed, we got his permission. Eamon wrote beautiful lyrics to it. And it's a simple song. But like B.B. King said, you want to play well and let people feel it. And that vibe comes through that record. It brings tears to my eyes. It is smoking.
But I guess the one last point is this: I try not to ever sing songs that I don't feel. I don't want to sing something technically correct. I don't want to do that. I need to have a song that I know that this is really my heart, and that's where we are. So some of the songs I've done, some of the songs that I knew I could do. That because you can sing a lot of songs, it's just not you. You know what I mean? I don't want to sing stuff that's not you. So and I want to bring Richie in here too. We've done a lot of talking. We're going to bring Richie in here too. But if we don't feel it, we don't do it.
I love that. I don't sing, I don't play instruments, but I tell you what, when I feel music, my feet come off the ground. It's something that's very, very special. And I would say before I just strictly was collecting records, I took a stab at making beats. And so as a beat maker, in your bedroom with your drum pad and all that other stuff, I'm looking for seconds. I'm looking to feel seconds of a song to then take and layer on top of drums or, do something with the pitch. And I always say it's not about listening, but it's about feeling it. That's the powerful thing. That's when it's more than simply just sounds coming out of a speaker or something like that. And so I love that, the conviction that you speak of when you say that. That is exactly what you do.
Aaron,
So I appreciate that.
I saw what you did, you and Aaron Fraser, that you did that song for Jade. Man, you could sing. I'm impressed.
No, that's not me.
You
No,
could do.
that's not him, Dad.
No, that's not me. I wish it was me. You probably see me lip syncing. I always lip sync when I play records on the side. If something really moves me, I'm giving y'all a lip sync performance. But let me tell you how that went. So here's the story real quick. This is a good one. I'm so glad we get to talk about this. I heard Four Jades last year by way of Rare Soul Collectors in California. Essentially, I had seen the label of a record, so I went to look for it, and lo and behold, lost gems like that come by way of California Rare Soul Collectors. George Miller Jr. is the one that actually brought that record to the scene through one of his compilations. But that record moved me so much that I tried to find it, and I couldn't find it. It wasn't available. So I kept looking, trying to do research, and I end up discovering Fraternity Music Group. They had the rights to that record, the whole catalog, Wilbert Longmire. And it was just a very long conversation of me talking about how this song and bringing it back could open up the doors for new collectors. In fact, a lot of the problems that I think as someone who's trying to get into records from the past, whether it's doo-wop or soul, we don't really know where to start. It's not easy to find information about groups from the past, right? I mean, what I found about the Splendids was a lot compared to what I normally have to go through, where I'm looking up, people on Facebook and family members and things like that to learn more. But I just thought that this record needed to come back. I wanted people to be able to not just hear it, but to experience it on vinyl and at an affordable price.
Well, you did.
Because I'm sure that many of the records from the past, they can fetch a pretty penny. And so that limits people from being able to expand their collection and explore more. And my whole mission, well, part of my mission, is to bring more people to the scene, to celebrate the artists and records from the past, to breathe new life into records. And so the story behind it is Aaron had mentioned, hey, this is a really cool song, because I made sure he got an advance copy. And he talked about an acoustic version. And I was like, oh, that would be really cool, but he's so busy, so I didn't think about anything. And then one Saturday morning, I woke up and I could have sworn that Santa just flew off the roof, because I saw that live stream, and seeing Aaron and Charlie do it like an acoustic version of Four Jades. That's like something I would dream about. Like, I couldn't believe it. And then for the record to come out and see everybody embrace it was a very special thing. So I didn't sing it, but I played a little part in it coming about again.
Very good.
You
Yeah.
did a good job.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it was great.
I sent a copy of the "Play My Heart, Cry Baby Cry" to my buddy Chewy Quintanar. Chewy is a major league player tattoo industry, and he's a Mexican kid, and he loves oldies. And he heard it, and he blasted it on his. He's got thousands of followers. He might have 100,000 followers, and he said, "Man, that's the real deal." It made me so happy that it brought that much joy to him. So he plays it all the time.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm so glad you kind of mentioned that. Eamon, did you want to kind of give us a lens into your creative process?
Yeah.
Cool talent.
No, I'm trying to think. My creative process. So, I mean, I'm working on stuff now, and there's this one song specifically that something just hits me. Usually, it's songs don't hit me when it's by lyrics first. It's usually by melody. This one particular song I'm thinking of hit me by lyrics, and that, and I just started writing stuff down. And I said, what kind of melody would go to this, and it came up with a really really dope song. But most of the time, it's a melody. I might be at my keyboard, I might be in the car, whatever the case is, and just melodies will come to me, or if I'm, working with people, different producers that I work with, it might be just playing around with chords and just melodies come to me. But like something that's major, I'm not doing this because we're talking about like, this old school release, whatever the case is. It's because of my subconscious, because I was listening to so much of the old stuff. If anybody ever says like, man, this song sounds great, it's almost weird to take credit for it, you know what I mean? Because everything is borrowed from somebody else, right? And
Yeah.
I think that if people appreciate music like this, it's because only because the people before me, you know what I mean? I'm just used as a vessel of the greats from back then. So
Yeah.
I think that really blessed me of just like really being listening to like I'm just like a freak, Wax. Like when it comes to like just music history, like yourself, I'm obsessed. You know what I mean? So I think that plays into my creative process. But always melody first,
Mm-hmm.
a groove first, and then lyrics last. I'm like gonna quote my third movie tonight. and, and you're gonna, but I all watch these before kids, so I have an excuse, Wax. You know what I'm saying? I know
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah,
you don't have time, neither do I. But this is, in another life, right?
yeah.
This one is not as cool as the That Thing You Do or some other movie I mentioned. This is from the movie. Is it called Music and Lyrics? It's with Drew Barrymore and the English dude, not Hugh Grant. Anyway, he's a songwriter from an 80s band, and he needs help with lyrics, and he has somebody that's like somebody that's doing his plants. He hires somebody to do his plants, and the person couldn't come, so the person's sister came, and he hears him humming, and she starts, going along and says a couple words like, well, what about this? One thing leads to another, and they start talking about melody and lyrics. And I think it's a great quote is that she says, well, I look at melody as, when you meet somebody new and you look at them and you say, wow, their looks are amazing. What a like the way I felt about my wife, right? That wow, this is such a beauty, right? And it
Yeah.
captures you, right? And it holds on to you. The lyrics are like somebody's personality. Like, wait, hold on, I didn't even. And the good thing about that is there's things about lyrics, and there's things I'm still learning about my wife. 7 years into marriage, wait, is it yes, coming up on 7, and so there's things I'm still learning about my still learning about, and there's still things I learn about lyrics. There's so many times I hear a lyric in a song, I'm like, wait, I've been singing along to this song for 20 years. He or she said that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
totally.
I find that it's so, I find it personal is that the melody is something that grabs my heart. You know what I mean? It starts me
Mm,
going. And the lyrics are like, I want to get to know you. You know what I mean? I just thought that was
that's
profound and
deep.
such it was a drom-com, you know? So that really touched me.
And
I love
Is it?
that. I've never heard anybody kind of articulate it like that, but I get what you're saying. And to kind of follow up to your love for music history, I had played a Rocky Brown record last week, and I was shocked when you're like, "Yo, did you hear my flip of this?" I was like, "What?" I
Yeah.
only know like two people that know about Rocky Brown and the Impacts, and you sampled that, which I
Yeah.
was just like completely blown away. I think I was like, "Yo, where do I find it? I want to hear it." That's incredible. And when I see people taking records like that, you know something. You really know something if you're going and finding records like that.
right,
Oh man, thank you.
it always amazed me that I could ask Eamon about from the 50s and that. Listen to me. It was impossible for him to know who did it, and he knew who did it. It was almost like, what? Where is he getting this knowledge from? Because he knows I'm pretty cool with. I know most oldies groups. Eamon knows them too. And you know what was about it? When we recorded several songs that we've done in the past year, one of his Jeff produced Hall and Oates.
Yeah,
He did.
Jeff is from the Family Stand, Ghetto Heaven. You remember that song from back in the day, Wax?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
He produced and recorded us, and he was such a blessing. And that is directly because of Eamon. So we had Jeff is one of the mellowest dudes I ever met, and he helped us so much. And we had so much talent. Eamon's musicians like mines, Dan Eubank, Benj. We had pros every step of the way, and we have several other songs that we
Well,
did
well,
that.
well, well. Fun fact, though, you missed something. You guys recorded "Blame My Heart" with Anthony Acid,
Oh, that's
which a fun fact is that's Ghostface Killer's personal engineer. So there's a
What?
connection.
yeah.
There's a connection.
What
There's a connection between Ghostface and the Splendids.
What?
But yeah, so it's wild.
That is
Yeah,
crazy.
Anthony's an old friend. Yeah, but yeah, and then we, and Dan was on the production side. Yeah.
So I got to tell you again, when I see this, before spoke to you, before I found the accounts, I'm looking at the label and I'm like, that's a really cool illustration there. And I see Dan's name on it. And when I think of Dan, I think of F Spot Records, think of Night Owls, right? And Dan's solo work. And so tell us how this whole thing comes together from connecting with Dan to finding Coal Mine to be I love Coal Mine. I bleed baby blue. Coal Mine is just a world class indie label. I think highly of everyone from Terry down to the staff. How did y'all land on Coal Mine Records?
Yeah. So basically, um, my father calls me up one day and says, "Hey, me and Eddie and Richie want to get back together and record a couple songs just for like fun." They weren't taking anything serious.
Yeah.
And so they said, "Would you sing lead to a couple songs?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. I'd be honored to do something like that." And they're like, this is the Splendids. Of course, the two of the original members are gone, but this is the Splendids. We want to do a Splendids record. We got that one cut on wax years ago on a compilation album, and we want to do something. And so they were talking about, different things we could do. I was like, you know what? If we're gonna do it though, we gotta do it right. So that's when I thought of Dan. And Dan's a team player, one, but he's also insanely talented. So I call up Dan and I told him the idea for the two records, and we laid down the tracks. The guys are practicing the background vocals, and Dan brings it back to us. It sends it back to me, and it sounds amazing. I have the guys um, record their parts at Anthony Acid's studio out in Jersey, and then I record my part at Benj Hurd's studio in North Hollywood, California,
Okay.
and Benj also mixed it. So when it all, and he did an incredible job mixing it. So when it all comes down to it, we have these two songs, and I was like, yeah, we could like release this on YouTube. You know what I mean? Or like, I could put it on Spotify, and and my fans would definitely hear it. Um, but I was like, man, it would be amazing to like, Dan had mentioned a couple ideas, and I wound up hitting my lawyer, Jared Tanko, who's the Barry sax player for Budos.
What?
And I said, Jared, what do you
Your
think, man?
lawyer is in Budo's
Yeah,
band?
he's the Barry player, yeah. And so I said, Jared, what do you think? Where do you think we should go with this? And he's like, man, I think you should hit up Terry from Coal Mine. So I hit up Terry and I sent him an email. I said, how's it going, Terry? I mean, he knows who I am because me and Kelly Finnegan have done some stuff in the past, did some writing, whatever. And I mean, and he had told me that Terry worked a record shop where he was putting up posters for me all the way back 20 years ago. So it's a funny connection how it all works together. But anyway, so Jared tells me, hey, call, email Terry. I sent the email out with the two songs that I didn't hear back. And my father was like, hey, did you hear back? I was like, nah. I was like, some people might not dig it, whatever the case is. Somehow it got lost, and somebody from the coal mine staff said, whoa, I just found this. And maybe it was in their junk mail, whatever the case is. Sent it to Terry. Terry hits me up and he says, oh my goodness, I am just seeing this. Holy smokes, Eamon. He's like, this is amazing. He's like, somebody in the office was like, wait, that's not a new song. That sounds like it was made in the 60s. And Terry was like, exactly. So,
Yeah.
so he was really excited about the project. And one thing led to another. He was we had to talk about a release and all this other case and 45s and all that. And that's how it happened, man. It almost didn't happen though, but I'm happy it did, man, because the coal mine fan base is great. Connected us with you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So many different people. So yeah, we're
What does
grateful for it.
what does the label mean to you? Did you have anything to do with it looking like this
All
in
of us.
terms of the layout?
Yeah, all of us. Yeah, we gave them a couple references. Shout out to Autumn at Coal Mine, who gave ideas about it, and Terry, and we just went back and forth. And yeah, it was their idea. There's like the little heart on it, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
because because it was released towards Valentine's Day, and Blame My Heart, Cry Baby Cry, it's old school love songs and stuff. So yeah, we and so what I would do is I would give rep or Terry and the people at Coleman would hit me up with ideas. I'd send them to the guys on a group text. They'd give me their feedback, and we just go back and forth like that. Yeah.
No, that's very cool.
Yeah,
So I was
the
showing
few
this.
Harvey Fuqua label. Yeah, exactly. That
Yeah.
was that was one of their inspirations. Exactly. I just saw that on the thing. Yeah.
I had I was telling Mike Noriega about you. Mike Noriega, my North Star. When it comes to rare soul, doo-wop, he's got a record label, Noriega Records. He saw this, and he starts talking about Harvey, and I'm like, who's Harvey? He's like, Go do your homework. Go do your homework like I always tell you, Wax. And that's where I had seen that. So I love that this pays homage to that old label from Detroit.
Yeah.
New flavor there. Now, you worked with Dan. You talk about landing with Coal Mine. Talk to me about the sound, because when I heard it, to your point, yes, it does sound like a 60s record. What was paramount for y'all? What were the requirements? What did you need to have before you'd say, yes, we're ready to go, this is it?
What do you mean by that? Talk to me.
Well, so for example, like to me, like sound is really important. I always say that when I think about soul records, doo-wop records, oftentimes now it's very hard to capture that sound that you'd get from back in the day in the 60s,
Yeah.
70s. The equipment was different, right?
Yeah.
It's just different. What were the things that were most important to you about seeing this come out?
Yeah, so I think doing it authentic, you know. Dan has a studio. It's small, but it's powerful. And
Mhm.
what comes out of there is really classic, you know. So he's big into recording to tape and stuff like that. Actually, his tape machine, I think, is, if I'm not mistaken, Madlib's old tape machine. I forget
What?
this. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, his tape machine is Madlib's old tape machine, and also the B3 Hammond that he used on the record is Sly Stone's old B3. Yeah,
I
so
can't do this anymore, man. I can't do this. All these
yeah,
gems
so
of wisdom, we love this stuff.
yeah, exactly. So that was really important that you know it's got to be authentic because you know there's a lot of people that try to do you know, old school, especially doo-wop soul type of stuff. And it's just, I mean, you know, God bless to everyone that puts out music, but sometimes it's just, I'd rather not. Like if it's gonna, I don't want a 2024 sounding doo-wop song, you know what I mean? Especially I don't like much music from today. So if it's gonna be something, um, you know, I want it to be a throwback. So Dan did that, and then Benj put my buddy Benj Hurd, he really put the finishing touches on it and like truly brought it home with his mixing style, where he really stayed true to the time. You know, we got the guys, the Splendids. They did you know full takes through. We didn't chop up stuff. We didn't chop like, hey, let's take the first verse from here and the bridge from
Mhm.
here. We
Yeah,
did it like we did it like they would usually do is let's take a full take through and use one of the takes, you know?
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. And that's something that Noriega has talked to me about before when I've been asking questions about recording. It's like, nah, we're not taking this. We got to be in the studio together. We have to make this like it was
We
back in the
couldn't
day.
do that because we were 3,000 miles away. That's the only thing I regret. But
Sure, sure. Um, no, that's beautiful. And I love the insights to that. I got two more questions.
yeah.
Before I ask the questions, I just want everybody to know this came out last week. This is available at Coal Mine Records in a beautiful candy red color variant, classic black as well. Also available through the drop vinyl in this beautiful natural color right here. It's not very often. I've done close to 300 interviews, and I've never had a father and son together on a live stream.
Ah.
And I want to take the time to ask both of you, you know, one, what does it mean to come together in 2024? And Walt, what is it like? What does it feel like as a dad to see your son not just follow in steps, but to really transcend and reach people all over the globe, yet still come back to say, Dad, I got room in the tank for one more with y'all.
Well, I tell you, I've been amazed at Eamon's talent, how God has blessed him. And when I see like a video like Soul, which I think is one of the best videos I've ever seen, the way he put that together was step by step, all his songs, all his albums. I just feel like this really had nothing to do with me. That's a gift from God he's got. But when for him to come back and sing with us, it was such a blessing. And I'm still nagging him to finish another song that we did. We did two other songs with him. And he said that he didn't really like it too much. He said, you didn't like it too much. I played it for Method Man and fell off the chair. He said, that's the best shit I've heard in years. And I'm just nagging Eamon. We gotta get these other two records to coal mine and let them jump on smoking. But I feel so blessed that he would be humble enough to sing with us after all of his years of celebrity status to come back and sing with us. It's a gift. Love.
Thanks, dude.
So if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here.
Well, I'll flip that over though. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. Like
Mm.
that's the truth. Like Wax, I idolize these guys. I remember I have a major moment in these three guys, and I think Tony Mox was there in our kitchen, my parents' kitchen, and they were singing. They were saying they were doing something, and I was just like amazing. For some, maybe it had to be like when, remember the Lion King was big,
Yeah,
and I think it was like 93, 94, and the Lion Sleeps Tonight.
yeah,
That song was big that's a song by the Tokens, right? And I was just a little kid. I didn't realize there was like doo-wop soul, you know what I mean? And then there's just like, I don't want to diss the song. It's an amazing song, but there's like more bubblegum doo-wop, you know?
yeah,
And so I was like, hey, you know, do you think you guys could sing the line? They probably don't remember this. I mean, it's a memory for me. I was like, do you guys think you could sing The Lion Sleeps Tonight? And they looked at each other like, yeah, I
Oh,
guess so. You know, so they wound up singing a little bit for me, but uh, that's just one story of many stories of looking at these men and being like, oh my, just like amazed. You know what I mean? Seeing the impossible done, and what was impossible to me, and so and singing with my dad like through those years, my early years was like some of my and Richie and Eddie, some of my great experiences in life. You know, like I remember like going on stage, about to go on stage in front of, I think it was in Sweden. It was at a festival, like 80,000 people, and I was closing the show. And like, and we were all holding, and we would hold hands, and it's personal, so I won't say it, but it's a prayer that we do before we go on stage to get us a little pumped, you know? But that prayer stems from something we used to do like back in the day with the guys, with my father and the guys. And there was so many times like being backstage at that point where I was like, man, I miss, even though I'm about to go in front of tens of thousands of people, I miss being in front of performing in front of 2,000 people or 500 people and just being with my father,
mm,
a guy I mentioned, Tony Motz, who's no longer with us, and guys who just weren't with us anymore. And like, so I draw back to those moments all the time of things that fed me, you know what I mean? Seeds that were planted in me that grew to whatever success I have, or whatever, how much people think of me, whatever good they think of me, is all because of the people before me and my blood, my father, you know?
wow,
So when, you know, for something like this, come on, that's an imagine like imagine I told my father no about something like that, like, and heaven forbid something happened. I'd have to live with that for the rest of my life. But I didn't do it out of guilt. I did it because I wanted to do it, because I love my pop. You know what I mean? And I love those two guys too, who were like uncles to me. You know.
yeah.
So I'm grateful, man. Grateful forever.
Wow. I'm so glad that we got to have this moment. It means so much to me to have you, your dad, the fellas here. It means a lot that the Splendids are doing an interview, you know, that will be documented and live on for many, many years to come and be seen by many, many people. There's one more question that I always ask all my guests at the very end of the fireside chat. And I'd love it if you could all share a quote or mantra that you keep close to heart, that has stayed with you, you know, as an artist.
Hmm. What's something that stays with me as an artist? Um. You know, something that my father tells me every time I go into the studio before, if I ever talk to him, uh, he says, "All right, all right, love you, make a hit record. And like, and that's something where, I mean, I just let him say now, but that's something like the pressure of that. But I know that uh, I don't know how you do that anyway, right? Like I've had a hit or whatever or two before, but that's just something that you can't put together like a science project, right?
Yeah.
But like, but what that does is I keep things like that in me of like, oh man, there's someone that believes in me, that believes that I could make something that is that great. You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like to work with people like that too. It's like, you know, believing in a situation. I don't like the mentality of well, you know, let's make a cool song. Like, no, I want to make something great that I feel that I want people to live on for this. And I like, it's an honor when people hit me up and say, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me, but it's an honor that when people say like, man, I was like suicidal, or like I was going through like the hardest time in my life, and this song or that song, like you got me through it. You know what I mean? And like that's like a hit record to me. Like, so let's not play around. Let's do something great. You know, sometimes it fails, but a lot of times that's my goal. You know. So hearing my father say that, him make a hit record, yeah, that definitely sticks to me. I'm sure there's others, but
That's deep, and I love that. I mean, I can remember playing sports as a kid. You know, my mother would always have words of encouragement, but I think I would be like, "Oh my God, I know I'll be fine," you know. But really, what I was missing in my youth was that was someone who
mm,
believed in me and believed that I could achieve
that's right.
that exact thing right there. And you know, I've said this before. I want to say it again. People refer to y'all as singers, songwriters, musicians. I've always seen you as healers. Because to your point, there's someone
Mm,
that's struggling and they hear that record and it's the crutches that lifts them up. And every time they listen to that, it picks them up again. Until one day they realize it. They don't need that to stand up, but it was so important during that chapter of life and it becomes a memory. So I think that the music that you make, you are able to heal at scale. And that's why I call y'all healers. So thank you for sharing that. Fellas, I would love some quotes from you. I know you got some good stuff in the pocket.
But I don't
Give me a
know.
quote.
I don't know if this would directly answer your question, but in terms of motivation, I'll use the word compulsion, like compulsion and passion. In other words, for me personally, I sing every day. It's something I got to do, just like eating. Like it's an internal motivation I got to do. Out of all the things in my life, always been since I've been a teenager. I would walk have cars and that's 30 songs. This is something I got to do. So that's one motivation, if I could use that as a motivation, internal. The second thing is, which I really want to miss, that we're sort of witnessing a total rarity. The rarity is, I can remember back when I was 15 to 16 with these guys walking down and singing songs and wanting to, in those days they called it cutting a record. We want to cut that record, but we never were able to do it. And now, many years later, a long dream became alive, and a dream was realized. This is a total rarity. We're old men, not old men that cut records. It's a useful enterprise. We had that opportunity, thank the Lord, but we had that opportunity, dream fulfilled, which is another motivation. If all mine wants to make a few, that would be great. But it's that a dream realized after many years. It doesn't happen too often.
That's beautiful.
hey, Wax. But before we go, I just want to introduce a person that's with me.
That's right.
Uh,
We got show and tell. We got to squeeze show and tell it real quick. Let's
yes.
run it. Let's run it.
So, man, my show and tell is my good friend, one of my closest friends in the world, the guy that recorded my vocals for these songs. That song that I showed you, I Don't Want Love, on the what freaking album was that?
Yes.
Captive Thoughts. Captive
Yeah.
Thoughts. He recorded my vocals for almost all the song. He co-produced the album with a guy by the name of Snipe Young, another one of my close friends. and super talented guy. Was just working with again today. He mixed the record, and he did an incredible job. My good buddy Ben Tur, come on in, Ben. and by the
Hey,
way,
Ben.
Benj is an amazing artist too. Like he's a phenomenal songwriter, instrumentalist. So if everybody out there, go check him out. Be Heard Music. I'm gonna type his There we go. I'm gonna type his name in there. Go give him a follow and check him out. I have some videos with him on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Walter. Good to
All
see you
right.
guys.
And that's Wax.
Hey, Wax. Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for patiently waiting for show and tell. We ran a little overboard. I'm enjoying the conversation so much that I just kind of lost my script and put it down.
It's all good. It's all good. I've been listening. Y'all are having a good time.
Yeah, we are really are, man.
Wax, I just wanted to say one thing before we close. Singing with Eddie. Eddie has got our blend. We've sang together so long, and Richie has got an ear. He can pick up anything. Eddie is so talented. It is, and with Eamon, it's a home run. And with people like Benj mixing that stuff, we can't go wrong because.
Yeah, and Dan on the production, of course.
And if you don't, if someone hasn't heard it, check it out, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I have friends who are into soul, doo-wop, anything. When they heard it, they go, "Wow, that song has got a great vibe," and that's our passion. That drives me. I'm a perseverant dude, man. I just want to keep singing.
More control.
Well, yeah, I want to control. Excellent.
Well, I love this. I think we had a fantastic chat tonight, and I hope that this is not our last talk together. In fact, I'm hoping that we'll have another opportunity to come back, do a follow-up conversation. I'm not done championing this record. I love it. I made a nice little video to kind of share so that people could hear both sides of it and learn about the record. But I want to thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Again, I can't tell you how special this was. A lot of great moments during this conversation tonight. Before we go, any last-minute words?
Oh no, man.
Yes.
Grateful for you, brother. Really grateful. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I love singing with these guys at our age. I can't believe we're still doing this. And it sounds better than it ever did.
I was waiting for you to talk all night, brother.
Hey, listen, you got to bring Richie on by himself. You guys have a one-on-one. Matter of fact. Oh, wait. Matter of fact, Richie has an insane 45 collection. And I told him, like, dude, like all oldie stuff. I was like, there's probably people that would buy it. You know what I mean? So
Let's
you guys
connect
actually,
in the DMs. Don't sell anything to anybody until you talk to me first.
yeah, I was gonna say I should connect you guys. Richie don't have Instagram, but I should really connect you guys because he has an insane collection. So
Listen, I made an Instagram account for Bobby Wade, for Val Shively. If I got to make another one, we'll do it.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Oldies man.
yeah. Well,
And
all right, guys. I gotta head home to the wife and 3 baby girls.
Wax,
So
I want to thank everybody that joined us for the hour and 17 minutes tonight. Go shop it at Coal Mine Records. It's available. The Splendids featuring Eamon, Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. We're out of here.
Thank you.
peace, my brother. Thank you, Wax.
Take care, y'all.
Take care.
You too. Thank